Greetings, everyone. We are going to talk about some of the aspects of running a combat that you need to worry about as a DM. The most obvious thing is a number of creatures that you have to track hit points and status for. The heroes have the luxury of only having to worry about one. You as the DM do not. It can simply be difficult by sheer numbers. If you have a dozen creatures running around, how are you going to track that Orc 6 is supposed to have disadvantage? Forgetting that Orc 6 has disadvantage, which it could be an honest mistake. It could be pivotal to changing the outcome of the battle. So, pen and paper is an option, but it gets messy. So some kind of tool can be really helpful to keep things organized and to remind you of some of these mundane details. Now, more interesting, one of the bigger responsibilities of you as the DM that you won't necessarily find talked about too much in the Dungeon Master Guide or such is orchestrating an intended lethality. So that has a couple aspects. The first aspect would be, what is the number of monsters and the intensity of monsters, I'll say, for each encounter. So D&D does have, 5th edition does have a challenge rating system. It's not very good. It's something to start with, but it has a lot of gaps. So you as a DM have to step in and tweak it, fiddle with it. And so it's crucial if you really just want to have a setback that you don't accidentally bring in a little too much or bring in a creature that has some odd effect and you end up with a near TPK. It's all about you getting your intended effect. So a tool can help you give you some dials to do some math and maybe prevent you from accidentally getting in the middle of the situation and then realizing, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? Now, another aspect of lethality is you're in a combat, you've got a creature with multi-attack, you have your first attack against a character, it's a crit. And now that character is on their last leg. What are you going to do? You need to think about this. Are you going to go for the throat and hit them again and take them out? Or are you going to turn and then attack somebody else? Even more so, what if they're already unconscious and down? Are you going to beat them in the ground and go for a kill? This is what I mean by lethality. And so having a tool that's reminding you the status of the players as you are going in and attacking. Like I forgot that Alina was unconscious, and I just announced I'm attacking Alina. Whoops, I didn't really well and do that. Or, I created Alina, and so now I don't want this to be a high lethality situation. I'm going to turn and attack somebody else, but I just attack a different hero with also has low hit points. So, I mean, I've just done the same thing. So a tool where it's keeping track of the status of the heroes can be really important for you to get the lethality, to orchestrate the lethality that you want, and make it the experience that you want. And there again, there's no right answer. It can be different for every encounter. All right, so we are going to take a look at some tool. I wrote a tool, Kobold Helper, at koboldhelper.com. It's a free web app. You don't even have to give out your email to sign up. You just go to koboldhelper.com and use it. We're going to do a whirlwind tour of what it can do. And again, I'm really interested in hearing any feedback you have. If you think something doesn't work well, just let me know and I'll fix it. If you think something is nice, let me know, and I'll do more of that. Yeah. So again, no downside. It's a totally free tool. It's on the web, easy to get at with any browser. Check it out, and let me know. But let's take a little tour. All right, I got my browser up, and I've gone to koboldhelper.com. It's again a free web app. Nothing to install, nothing to pay for. There's no need to even sign up for anything. You just go to koboldhelper.com and it's off and going. So it starts off from the perspective of trying to be helpful to the player to join your session, making that easy for your players. All we need to do is, if we first want to get into setting up a combat, is click Set Up as a DM. And I'll get some more options, one of which is the combat area. So the first thing we can do is go ahead and set up the session so that everybody can listen in. You simply need to come up with a code that you think will be unique. You don't want to be reusing somebody else's code. It can be whatever you want, as long as something nice that would be unique, you think. Hit setup, and now at this point you can tell all your players to go to koboldhelper.com and join the session. I'm going to flip over to this tab. This will be the equivalent of another player's opening their browser. After they punch in their character's details, it is remembered in browser local storage, so they won't have to punch it in for each session, but it's tracking things like name, hit points, and then you've got your different modifiers. So initiative, perception, stealth. Just punch in some values here so you get the idea. Simply click whenever the player wants to make an adjustment. Maybe they drop their shield and then they want to lower their armor class. And so these players can make these updates. The point is we've told the players we're going to have an encounter, so go to koboldhelper.com and join the session that we're going to use tonight. Player clicks join. It automatically syncs up and adds my character, and as more players were to join, their characters would also show up there. Clicking back to the DM's experience, I can see that Alina is watching, so I know Alina is going. Maybe Alina's my only player tonight, and I see Alina is there. So all we got to do now is add the monsters. We get a nice gallery of content from the SRD to make it quick to pick monsters. It prominently has the CR level to help me understand the challenge rating I'm going after. Again, we've got one party member. It's calculating based upon the level of Alina, who is 5, what the appropriate CR would be. It does the math for you. So let's go for some orcs. We add an orc. It's keeping track of the CR. It's telling me it's not quite there. We're getting closer. And now it's kind of indicating that we're getting into a little bit of maybe a decent challenge with 3 orcs. But you know what? I want to have a little bit more of a challenge. And you know, it'd be fun to pull in a direwolf. Simple click. It rolls the appropriate hit points. It's got the CR, the level. Everything's ready to go. All right, so the red kicks in, indicating that I've decided to make this a bit of a challenge. It's a hint to the DM to make sure you're doing what you want to do and you aren't accidentally pulling in something you didn't realize. Okay, going back to the combat section, it's all ready to go. So we've got my player and all my monsters lined up as items in my combat area. I have options on how initiatives should be handled. I can have the tool automatically roll initiative because it knows the initiative bonuses of all of the monsters and the players. I can also tell it to just preserve initiative over rounds. That's how I like to do it because I think it's faster. But I can turn these off and I can exactly put in whatever initiative I want all my players to roll. That way, that's fine. But I'm going to leave it like this because it's a lot quicker. So I simply hit start. The tool rolls the initiative for all the players. It applies the appropriate modifiers. There's a bit of an audit here if you really want to know exactly what it did. And we're ready to go that quickly. So Orc 1 has the initiative. So what we get in the center of the screen, this is again from the perspective of the DM. I get a nice overview of the SRD content, the attributes, the armor class, the stats, for my quick reference. And this is because I'm on Orc 1. This is the current player. Flipping over to what the player's seeing, they're seeing that Orc 1 is up, and then a little hint that next up is Alina, so I can be thinking about what they want to do. Now, the main point is that this tool can automatically track effects and keep track of hit points. So let's say the Orc does 9 damage to Alina. Don't make me do the math. Just put in the 9 and push a button. Let the tool do the math. I'm going to go ahead and add a little more damage because we have this on the right here, so you can see health effects. I can have the tool indicate to all the players when somebody is under 50% health, which is sometimes referred to as bloodied, And here's an option even with 25%, like you're on your last legs. This is something maybe some DMs don't want to show, and you can easily unclick those and nothing will be shown. But if I go ahead and take Alina below 50%, we get the yellow indicator. So rather than me having to tell everybody, Alina looks bloodied, everyone's remembering this and they can make better decisions. So maybe also Alina is enchanted for some reason. I can add a note about the enchantment. So when I'm done as the DM, I hit advance turn. Now Alina's up. Now flipping back to the perspective of the player, it's their turn. They can go ahead and take care of. And we see here that we get an indication of that Alina was wounded, a reminder. So that's nice, right? And so again, Alina had some temp hit points. So the tool was smart enough to first take away the temp hit points, then take away the main hit points. Another small thing that you can forget to do as a DM. But if there were more players, they could all realize Alina is cursed. It's right here in the center. Everyone would be seeing that, oh yeah, Alina's cursed. Maybe I want to do a Dispel Magic or something like that. And anyway, Alina can be up. And we're going to show some more of the effects just to get to the point. We've got stunned, strained, slowed, disadvantaged to be hit, or advantage to be hit. So in other words, like a fairy fire effect. And then just general shared notes, prone. So everybody can remember that Orc 3 is now prone. So I'm just throwing out some examples here. And then again, like I said, tracking or displaying the relative health. If I had done 30 damage to this direwolf, it has the red icon, which is indicative of less than 25% without telling the players the exact amount. So then Alina can, when Alina's done, Alina can control it. It's end my turn rather than constantly asking you, are you done? Are you done? And then all the latest stats go through to all the players. And here we go back to Orc 3. So there's sometimes in a combat a lot is going on, and you could easily forget that Orc 3 is slowed, and that could have a pivotal effect. In this case, you've got a tool that's reminding you and telling you Orc 3 is slowed. So when I, as a DM, am taking action, it's like, oh yeah, that Orc is slowed. I can't move that far, etc., etc. Okay, I think the last thing to highlight is we do have a dice roller. So as I'm going into my SRD content and I'm trying to attack with my Orc, I have the option to go up to here, click here, add my bonus, click roll, and automatically will make the roll for me. It's going to keep a history of rolls, so if I'm trying to remember, like, oh wait, what would happen in the last round, I can just refer to it and like, oh yeah, that's where I had my crit. If I do roll a crit, it will be gold, just as a reminder. You do have basically up here an audit of exactly what happens if you just want to know. It rolled a 5 and it added 5. And in the case of, let's say I'm doing a fireball and I'm clicking here 3 times, you can see that it rolled a 1, a 2, and a 4, and it added 0. So it's kind of a bit of an audit to improve confidence in what the dice roller is doing. Last thing for the DM, and only the DM, is the option to fudge. It's perhaps a contentious point that some DMs find it very important that sometimes they want to fudge the dice rolls. So if I click this on, because that's what I want to do, when I make the roll, it will first put it here and not transmit it out to the players. And then I can say, okay, I really wanted, let's say I had rolled a 20 and I don't want to do a crit because that would kill somebody. Instead it's going to be a 2. And then that's what I send out, and that's what everybody sees. Some DMs really are adamant that they need that ability to fudge rolls, so you have that option with the tool. Okay, I think we'll stop there for this overview of running a combat. I think next up, maybe we'll talk a little bit about random encounters. Okay, let's take a look at what the tool can do for generating random encounters. I'm simply going to reset the combat, and we get back to Alina because Alina is a party member. So it remembers that. It also remembers Alina's health because no one's healed Alina yet. So that's good. But now it's time for another combat, but this wants to be a random encounter. So I click into random encounter. Okay, first up is generating. Who are we generating for? So two aspects. Party level, which according to the monster manual, the CR is based upon a standard of well-rested adventurers. So the level of four adventurers is the CR. So if it's 4 level 5s, it's easy. It's a CR5. Book doesn't talk about, though, like what if it's a party of 3 adventurers, 2 of which are level 2 and 1 is level 3. What do you do? This tool will do the math for you and figure it out. In this case, we just have 1 level 5 and it's done the math. Party combat power. This is something that I don't understand why, but the designers of D&D 5th edition have no mechanic to scale encounters based upon how powerful the party is. I think it's essential that you as a DM, you have to adjust the challenge. I mean, it's obvious that a party with 17s and 18s abound on their abilities, lots of magic items, tons of feats. They need a bigger challenge than the equal number of equal level party members, but their highest stat is a 16, and they have 1 magic item amongst them all. So low would maybe be like what that like the it could also be like the skill of the players too. If these are all new players and they have like weaker abilities, average, high, and epic, gods among men that are 17s and 18s, tons of magic items, etc., etc. Basically, this is going to be a multiplier on the party level to try to get you a challenge rating that's reasonable. I'm going to pump this up to a 5 just so we can see some better results when it generates. Okay, so now what do we want to generate? The obvious thing you've been thinking about is monsters, but why couldn't the party randomly walk into a trap? And then the idea that sometimes they maybe randomly find a benefit could be fun. But let's go into monsters, a typical case. So the first thing is, what lethality do I want? Setback, dangerous, or deadly? Deadly being that there's probably a decent chance somebody could die. Okay. Now, what is the monsters? I have the power, the tool let me do it by monster type, so like a theme. Totally random is an option, but the idea is that you give me some kind of undead. Give me some kind of goblinoids. We're in a cave that's overrun with goblinoids. It makes sense that we'd have a random encounter with some kind of goblinoids. The other one is by terrain type. My party was supposed to go into a dungeon, but they actually instead went into the forest for a while. It's time for a random encounter. I'm not even prepared for this at all. I wasn't expecting you to do this. Just give me some random encounter that makes sense for a forest. And so dungeon, caverns, there's a bunch of different options there. Let's go with goblinoids as the example. So I simply now can hit generate, and it creates me a nice little warband of goblinoids that kind of feel natural. And the idea is that every time I hit generate, it's going to be different. But it's all going to map up to the same target CR. I'm going to hit it a few times. You can see it's creating a little bit of a different flavor each time. So if you have multiple encounters with goblinoids, it feels more natural. All right, and then there's a note here. All of these entries are automatically added to the combat area. So I've generated my random encounter. I go back to combat. I have Alina still there, and everything that just got randomly generated is ready to go. I'm already got my session set up. All I got to do is hit start, and we're off and going. So make it really easy and quick. Get something generated that's dialed into the lethality and the CR that I deem is appropriate, and according to my theme that I want. And I can actually get the combat going really quickly too. Now back to random encounter. Let's just go ahead and take a look at, again, I'm going to pump it up just so we see different options. Come back to take a look at trap. So it could be a fun difference. Like, it doesn't always have to be a monster. So random, a pit, a blast is what we have. The tool has. So pits, generate. So we've got the DC to spot the pit. Otherwise, the pit opens and people fall in. Random opening and random depth. So here's a pit. It's a little bit different. This time, down in the pit are 2 wasp swarms. This pit contains a ghoul. Now if we go to blast, Okay, so now it's a poison blast that it covers a random area and does random damage. This time it was force. And then if I up the lethality, it's a DC 25 to spot it. It's really hard to see it. And if you step on the right place, everybody gets blasted with lightning in 15-foot area. It does, you know, a good amount of damage. So that can be a good one. Last up, what I like to do is whenever it's time for a random encounter, I like to have my party members roll a d12. And a 1, 2, or 3, it's a monster or a trap. And on a 12, it's a benefit, just to mix it up. So that I get here. So you find a quiver with 3 arrows. And in fact, each arrow is arrow plus 1. So it's not going to be game breaking, but it's interesting. Kind of keeps it fun. Now, last thing to mention as far as randomly generating things, we do have a loot tab. So look, I need a magic item. I need a uncommon magic item. Boom. Cloak of Elvenkind. Boom. Potion of Hilarion Strength. So that just can be really helpful and quick. Instead of you trying off the top of your head, try to think of something. Just let the tool do it for you. Okay, so that is the capabilities for random encounters. I think that's a whirlwind tool of the tool. Again, try it out. If you find a bug, if you find something that you think doesn't make sense, let me know. You can send email to kobold.helper@gmail.com. I'll fix it. Or likewise, if you think it's really cool, let me know, and maybe we can do more cool things and make this tool really, really great. Okay, thanks everybody. That's koboldhelper.com. Bye.